All right, Saagar, what's on your radar?
Well, Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein, he was charged with multiple counts of alleged sex crimes yesterday in Los Angeles County. Fittingly, on the exact same day that his trial in New York City began on similar charges. The charges show that the Hollywood mogul faces years in state prison on both coasts if convicted, and it brings some measure of justice to the dozens of women that he sexually assaulted, allegedly, over the years. Is it worth pausing, however, and reflecting on Weinstein's ability to manipulate the system for years? How, despite these charges, that he still will not pay a very hefty price, and how nothing has really changed in our system, except the co-opting of sympathetic rhetoric by woke elites who enabled Harvey Weinstein and people like him for many years. Weinstein's trial fittingly begins the day after the Golden Globes, a Hollywood award show that would have dominated not even a few short years ago. But at that event, when Ricky Gervais even deigned to joke about how so many of the elites within the room and happily done business with Harvey covered up his crimes in the process, they had the audacity to groan. Take a listen.
Last one, come on guys. Our next presenter starred in Netflix's Bird Box, a movie where people survive by acting like they don't see a thing. Sort of like working for Harvey Weinstein. You did it, I didn't, you did it.
Gervais highlights that a key element of the Harvey Weinstein story, it's not just that he himself was a horrific monster, but that the banality of power in Hollywood made it perfectly acceptable to cover up his crimes. That didn't even stop at his business associates, as Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Ronan Farrow's experience trying to expose the alleged depraved sex criminal while working at NBC News shows all of us. Farrow's book, Catch and Kill. It details in excruciating horror how every single attempt of his to expose Weinstein while working at NBC News was quashed by executives at the very highest level, and even assisted by Hillary Clinton's lackeys. These executives remain in their jobs today at NBC News and have completely resisted any public call for an impeachment inquiry, for an independent inquiry, despite Farrow's bombshell revelations of cover-up that were at the very top. And funnily enough, Farrow also got mentioned at the Golden Globes. And just look at the face of the people in the room when he gets brought up.
But tonight isn't just about the people in front of the camera. In this room are some of the most important TV and film executives in the world. People from every background, but they all have one thing in common. They're all terrified of Ronan Farrow. He's coming for you. He's coming for you. Look, coming for you. Look, talking of all you perverts, it was a big year. It was a big year for paedophile movies. Surviving R. Kelly, Leaving Neverland, Two Popes. Shut up. Shut up. I don't care. I don't care.
Just look at their face.
They can't take it.
During all of this, you should remember that this will be the only real personal toll that the former Hollywood mogul is even going to pay, given that many of his victim settlements are not coming from his personal funds, but from his bankrupt former company. In other words, while he may spend some time in prison for his alleged crimes, his personal net worth remains in the several $100 million range, and his own accusers are going to have to pay a hefty tax on their settlements. Tell me if that's fair. I'm taking the time to highlight these instances because they represent how so much of the Hollywood and media elite have brushed aside real responsibility for their roles in the cover-ups of Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, so many other people in positions of power. The anchor and the executives who quashed the Epstein story are still at ABC News. They have given us no explanation. The people who enabled Matt Lauer at NBC, they haven't done a real investigation into the matter. I could go on and on and on. And the reason we have to remember this is because the same people who covered up for depraved sex criminals are the same ones who control the levers of power in our society. They're the ones who continue to decide what stories get covered, what don't, what movies get made, maybe which graphic to choose when talking about certain candidates in the Democratic race. They continue to lecture us from their perches, despite the fact that we know that they have no clothes. And there could be no fitting end to the Golden Globes Sunday than the stars continuing to use the Golden Globes to push a political agenda, even after Gervais's epic warning, which we played for you on this show yesterday. Let's end on this note.
The hero of this next movie is a naive, misguided child who spreads Nazi propaganda and only has imaginary friends. His name is Mark Zuckerberg. Oh, sorry, this is an old intro for The Social Network.
Craig, your script posed the question, what is the cost of lies? And that question becomes more relevant with each passing day's news cycle.
And finally, I'd like to dedicate this to my grandfather, Alfred Hubert Mendes, who inspired this film. He signed up for the First World War. He was age 17. And I hope he's looking down on us. And I fervently hope it never, ever happens again. Thank you very much indeed.
I thought it was very fitting that all these people still decided to make political speeches.
Personally, I wanted to descend on Sacha Baron Cohen. I actually liked that one. But otherwise, point taken. I think one of the interesting things about this whole situation with Weinstein and Ronan Farrow is that it took someone who had a measure of privilege, who had access to these Hollywood circles and worlds, and also who had like the personal financial security to not worry he's going to be out on the street if he doesn't go along to get along at NBC News. And it just shows you what could be possible if you had anyone else with a fraction of the courage that Ronan has in amongst our elites. To me, that's one of the central pieces of this story. And the fact that they just, blocked him at every turn shows you the way that this works and the way that who knows who they're protecting right now.
He really was a traitor to his class, and that's really the only way this works. And I think it's so interesting too. Again, I played these clips from the Golden Globes because it's like, these are the people who did it, right? These are the people. You go and you watch Seth MacFarlane, I think he did the same Golden Globes in 2013, made a joke about Harvey Weinstein touching women. And everybody kind of laughed because everybody knew.
Everybody knew it.
Right? I mean, you go back and you look at the roasts of Matt Lauer back in 2006. There's a Village Voice article which talks about this. And it's some of the most perverted, disgusting stuff that you'll ever hear, where they're openly joking about Matt Lauer's predatory behavior. Nobody said, everybody knew about this, right? And it's like these cultures.
Cosby for so many years.
I mean, so in each one of these circles, they were whispered about, but nobody was able to take down the king. If you look at Jeffrey Epstein, it's the same thing. Cover up after cover up after cover up, and the complicity, because everybody was making so much damn money. And what makes it so frustrating for people like us is that these are the people who lecture us about politics, right? These are the people who come, I mean, you have Jane Lynch, right, who came out and said, actually, rich people are people too. Please stop attacking Pete for his wine cave. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? I mean, like, it's Versailles level stuff, right? Truly.
But, and you know what would have happened if any of the alleged victims of Harvey Weinstein had come out on their own before the elite pressure had been foisted upon him by Ronan Farrow, acting as class traitor, as you put it, they would have gotten crushed. I mean, part of Ronan's reporting is on just the lengths that Harvey Weinstein was willing to go to and had the money
and
to
the
go to.
And the media ecosystem which he cultivated.
And the media ecosystem that he lived in, that he would call up all of these executives on the phone and say basically, hey, bro, it was the 80s, it was the 90s, we were all doing it. And in a lot of cases, they were. Maybe not what he was doing, but they were complicit in their own Me Too culture. It really just exposes the lie. Look, Me Too is a real thing. Women are treated like crap often in this country. Many are sexually assaulted, harassed, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know a woman who hasn't been harassed or assaulted in their lives. However, a lot of these people, they don't actually care about the problem. They care about weaponizing the problem when it's convenient for them against their enemies. And when it's inconvenient, they don't want to hear about it.
They stay silent. And the most important thing to remember is this is what I'm talking about is a systemic thing. It's like all these accumulated rich people and these accumulated people of power are the ones trying to lecture us on how to live our daily lives. And we're not the ones, doing whatever with a potted plant, right? It's like you're the people who covered that up. Yeah. And I think that is why we have to take time and reflect that, it's great that he's been charged in court. He's still got $300 million. His accusers still have to pay a settlement tax. They had to file in bankruptcy court along with all of his other creditors. That's not justice. It's not.
And who else is out there that still hasn't had their day?
Exactly.
Next on Rising, Sanders' senior advisor, David Sirota, is going to share us how the campaign is hitting back against the argument that the senator is not electable.
Along with how a Sanders administration would handle that current Iran crisis. That's all this, and that's next.